let's talk about Dan Barker's claims. First and foremost, you talk about God of the gaps. It's not God of the gaps. We don't say we don't know, then we just squeeze God in there. We actually reflect upon reality, the universe, we come to certain conclusions, we come to certain attributes, and then we see that there's a correlation between our view and what reality has told us. That's not God of the gaps at all. God of the gaps would be, I don't know, therefore God did it. So I think that's an outdated atheist cliche. Also, you're saying submission to God is not rational. Well, you said this about grammar. Let's change the definition here. Well, you could submit to yourself, submit to social conditioning, or submit to a higher rational being. What sounds more rational, people? To submit to a higher rational being. If you know that rational being exists and you have evidence for that. So you could play with words and we could preach. I mean, I think your preachiness has carried with yourself in your atheistic age. And I think, you know, we can't have our cake and eat it. I don't like Christianity, but I'm going to stay a preacher.
Thank you.
No worries, dude. Anyway, so the point is about the God's names and attributes. We don't say all or infinite. What we say is God is the merciful. And Islamic theology says that we reconcile His names and attributes. The in the loving or the merciful means He's greater than human beings. And then when we look at all His names and attributes, we see them via His oneness and we reconcile them together. We don't say He's infinite this, infinite that, infinite this. No, Islamic theology says He's the merciful, the just, and we take these names and attributes and we reconcile them together, for instance. You talked about the Quran is based on hearsay and testimony. I mean, surely, I don't believe you said that. I was so upset, I thought you were a clever guy. I mean, when we look at the science of textual integrity of the Quran, we see that the historical scientific principles applied to the textual integrity of the Quran surpass any known Western type of history. For example, we have a philosophy of the matan, which is the text itself, and the isnad, which is a chain of narration. And each person in the chain of narration has a biography. Was he trustworthy? Did they meet each other? So the sciences of textual authority in the Quran are extremely, extremely sound. But significantly, what I'd like to add is the main part of the preservation of the Quran is based on oral tradition. An oral tradition. And it's not just Chinese whispers, because it's based upon something in Arabic called mutawatir reporting, which is recurrent testimony. Now, recurrent testimony, as C.A. Cody in his book Testimony says, many things that we believe in is because of testimony. You probably believe China exists because of testimony. Many of us have never been to China before, but yet we believe China exists. Now, with regards to the Quran, it's based on recurrent reporting, that it's been reported by so many different people at different times and places, all going back to the Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace. To claim that that's not the Quran is to claim a conspiracy, that they had a time machine and conspired together to say this is what the Quran is going to be. Also, you talked about the contradiction. Please find it for me. I've never heard of that before. That sounds like it came from left field. Also, the threat of violence, for example. I mean, come on, this is so shallow. What we're saying is, a disbeliever is someone who has been given evidence and out of his arrogance rejects it. Out of his arrogance. Like kufr, the disbeliever means someone who has a veil over the heart. They cover. Like, you know, the farmer who puts a seed in the soil and he covers the seed? Like, you're covering the truth. This is what we mean. We don't believe someone like a red Indian who's never heard about Islam. We don't say that person is going to hell. We don't have this type of theology. That's a straw man. He's built a logical fallacy. He's built a straw man of Islam. I suggest you need to start reading around the intricacies of Islamic theology. Also, you have to understand the Quran is a thinking book. For example, the things I've talked about are based in the Quran. As the Quran says, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ? Do you not use your minds? أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ? Do they not reflect within themselves? وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ? And in themselves, do they not see? Are you going to base your life on your forefathers? Even if it's based on no knowledge? These are rational principles. It's an existential text that makes you think about the meaning of existence and who you are. You're being quite unfair, Dan, you know? Come on, let's be fair, man. Also, you talked about singularity. You know, singularity is not old. Vilenkin, 2008. Cosmologists in 2006. Even recently, cosmologists are understanding the concept of singularity. It's not old stuff. I mean, you could talk about Stephen Hawking all you like. but it doesn't mean he's right just because he's Stephen Hawking. I mean, that's an argument of authority, right? You're standing on the shoulders of giants. Also, you talked also about that why isn't everyone a Muslim, or why isn't the evidence on the table? That's again a logical fallacy. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. Because people don't do it. It's like the fallacy of social reasoning. Like, just because the majority of people don't believe in it, therefore I shouldn't believe in it. I mean, is that critical thinking? I mean, that's like Nazi Germany to me. Everyone wants to kill a Jew, maybe I should kill a Jew too. Yeah? I mean, come on, is that right behavior? Dan? Surely not. Also, you spoke about apples and oranges. Again, you have a grammar problem. No, I see the universe as an object because it has a spatial-temporal boundary. I'm not saying it's a category of things. So I don't think your argument here works. And also, you think that we have a special pleading to God with this argument. But since the atheist has always maintained the same about the universe, as beginners and uncaused, then you're doing the same thing. I mean, interestingly, Professor Anthony Flew said that we need to make a choice. Either the universe is uncaused, or the cause of the universe is uncaused. Now, I think in light of tonight's evidence, we know that the universe is caused, and the cause of the universe is uncaused. Also, you talked about, well, then who caused God? Well, the thing is, God never came into being. Rather, we know we have evidence the universe came into being. And finally, you spoke about God's thoughts, but we say that that's a fallacy, it's a straw man argument with regards to who God is. We say that his intentions, if you want to put them even to that kind of words, are eternal. And there's a difference here. There's not like a discrete, finite kind of process going on that you could claim that the actual infinity doesn't make sense with regards to God itself, which I discussed in the initial part of my presentation. But more of that in the next part of the rebuttals. Thank you.